If you have mature skin, like I do, and wearing foundation and powder are really just not your favorite, then you're in the right place, because today we're going to talk about tips for picking out a foundation and a powder, and also tips and ideas for applying it and wearing it to help us all just look and feel our very, very best. Hi, I'm Dawn with Just Doing My Best, and if you're here for the first time, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. We are in the middle of a video series that I'm making about easy makeup tips for mature women. So women over 40, women over 50. Today we're talking about foundation and powder. And before we jump in, I want to say that before you even start with your makeup, you definitely want to pay attention to your skincare. Now, if you've been here for a while, you know I have really oily skin. I also have very sensitive skin, and it's very, very humid where I live normally. So I want to say that your skincare routine and my skincare routine before makeup may be just a little different. If you have drier skin or you live in a very dry climate, you may be applying more skincare before your makeup than I am. I am really and truly doing like the bare minimum before I put makeup on, because I know that, again, my skin is oily, it's gonna be very humid, and the more I do, the worse my skin feels. So I know I can't do the same skincare routine in the morning before makeup that I do in the evening. So everybody is gonna be a little different, and you might just have to play with it and see how much or how little you need to do before you even start putting your makeup on. The first tip that I want to give you about foundation is I want you to look for foundation with benefits. I think the days of us just looking for a foundation that's just straight coverage are over, really and truly. I think when we were younger and we started using foundation right out of the gate, whenever that was, in our teens or in our 20s or whatever, we were just looking for coverage. We were just going to the drugstore and we were getting CoverGirl or whatever. And not that they make bad products. What I mean by that is when we were younger, we were just looking for coverage. We just wanted beautiful, flawless skin, right? Now we need to be concerned with the health of our skin. So we need to be looking at what ingredients are in our foundation. We need to be looking for things. Is it good for our skin? Does it have SPF? What is it going to do for us? We need to be thinking about the health of our skin and our skin 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and what is this foundation doing for us besides just coverage? The second tip that I want to give you about foundation is I want you to try. I want you to experiment. For some reason, I think that a lot of us think that if we buy a foundation, we're married to it. You know what? You're not. And I want you to ask for samples and check what the return policy is, okay? You can get samples when they don't even tell you that you can get samples. I have been into Walgreens, and they have a lot of Walgreens, they have ladies there right there in the makeup department. And if you say, do you have any samples, something that I can try? They will absolutely give you samples. Also, go to Ulta and ask if they have any foundation samples. Go to Sephora, ask if they have foundation samples. Even if they don't offer, a lot of those places will absolutely give you samples if you ask for them. Foundation should make your skin look beautiful. It should make your skin look better, but it should not look or feel like a mask. So look for different coverage levels. If you haven't been wearing foundation for a while, or maybe not at all, maybe start with a light to medium coverage. Something that's just going to give you a really nice wash of color, just kind of blur everything just a little bit, but won't feel like a mask. And if it's light to medium, a lot of times you can add just a little bit more when you need a little bit more coverage. The one that I use is full coverage, but I can't emphasize this enough. To try different foundations, ask for samples, try different coverage levels, because I can almost guarantee you're going to try one or two and you might go, oh, no, I'm done. I'm out. I'm not going to use it. And it might just be because that's not the one for you. So just keep trying it and definitely try different levels of coverage. And let me show you the one that I'm using. So this is the one I use, and below this video in the description, I will link some of the things that I'm talking about today. This one is the IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better CC Cream. It is full coverage. Now, do I think that it covers absolutely everything? You know what? Sometimes I don't, but let's face it, sister, I am 52 years old, and it would take spackle and a bucket of paint to cover everything. So I do think it makes my skin look better. I do think it is great coverage. Now, remember I said you want a foundation with benefits. This one is color correcting. It is illuminating. I love that. It is full coverage. It's anti-aging. It's a hydrating serum, and it's an SPF of 50. For that, I absolutely love this one. Now, my skin is oily. Like I said, I live in a very humid climate. So for me, this one works really well. IT Cosmetics has several foundations. I think this would be a great place to start. Will your experience be exactly like mine? It probably won't be, but again, that's why I think that you need to definitely experiment. And this one runs, I want to say $30-something, but I can get one of these tubes to last, oh gosh, 4 months probably. So I do get a lot of use out of this, and it's very, very good for my skin. For that, this one is so worth it for me. Now I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. Try, ask for samples, and ask for the return policy. Just because you try something doesn't mean you're married to it. And I want you to find a good formulation that you really love, and I want you to find a good color that you love. It should match your skin tone. And if you're able to try samples at the store, a really good place to try a sample is on the inside of your arm. If your face is out of the sun a lot, like mine is, so you don't spend a whole lot of time in the sun, neither does the inside of your arm. The back of your arm might, but the inside of your arm doesn't. So while it may not be foolproof, this is a great way to test the color on your skin before leaving the store. One of the biggest mistakes I see women make when it comes to foundation is not so much the coverage, but the color. Your color that you choose for your face should pretty much be almost an exact color match to your neck. So it should be just a seamless transition. You may be able to tell that you have makeup on, obviously, but it shouldn't be a huge color difference from your face to your neck. And it should blend really, really well. You should not get that line of demarcation right there. So find a color that matches your skin as best you can and blend so that it all just blends seamlessly from your face to your neck. The next thing that I want to say about foundation is once you apply it and it's all smoothed out and blended in really well, let it sit for a few minutes. Let it just do its thing, just kind of set up for a few minutes. If you just apply your foundation and don't just let it sit for a few minutes, you may actually want to maybe put a fan on your face for a minute or two. Just kind of let it dry and set up. If you immediately put on more makeup after it, you run the risk of just blending it right off and just smearing it, and you won't get that beautiful foundation that you're looking for. Now, one of my favorite powders is a finishing powder, and I love this one from e.l.f. And I will link it below the description of this video so you can go down there and you can find it. But it's a very light finishing powder, and what it's great for is setting my concealer or setting my foundation. So I love that. It's very, very light, and I can just kind of press my concealer in. I can just press that in And then I can just lightly put it over my foundation to just give my concealer and my foundation some staying power. That's what I really like about a really light finishing powder, and this one from e.l.f. is one of my favorites. Now, if you want a powder that is a little more, just a little bit more coverage, or maybe even you're not quite on the train yet with foundation. You haven't quite landed there yet, but you know that you'd like to have a little bit more coverage. You may decide that you want to try a full coverage powder. And this one from NYX is from the drugstore. This is one of my favorites. For under $10, I really don't think it can be beat for giving you a full coverage powder. So especially on those days that you just don't want to wear a ton of makeup, this is wonderful for that. Or if you need to add a little bit of something to maybe that light to medium coverage foundation, I think you'll like this one. But a full coverage powder or a foundation powder, I think it'd be great if you're not quite ready to take that leap into a full foundation for your face. Now, if you want something that it's a little bit more buildable, but beautiful, so beautiful for blending, you may consider getting yourself a mineral foundation. This one, I love this one. Bare Minerals Mineral Veil, and I get the one that is illuminating because, again, we're just losing the color from our face. We're kind of losing that just life and brightness from our face. So I love this one here. And what's great about a mineral foundation is it is buildable, it is blendable. You can just keep working with it to get the coverage that you really, really like, and you almost can't go wrong with it. Sometimes it just takes a little getting used to because this is a loose powder. So you might not be able to see it, but there are holes in there. And you open it to see how many holes, how much you want to come out. And you just kind of turn it over. Now you've got just a little bit in the lid here. You take a big fluffy brush like this, blend it in, tap some of it off, and now you can put that on your face. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful coverage. I love this one so much. The mineral foundations, you can just add and add and add. You don't have to, but I'm just saying that it just gives you that flexibility of adding it without it getting super cakey, super just it doesn't look like you've just added on and added on and added on. It just is more and more beautiful. So for that reason, I do love a mineral powder foundation, but I do encourage you to try which one that you really like, whether it's a finishing powder that's a lighter touch, whether it's a foundation powder that's heavier and it might be your alternative to foundation, or a mineral-based foundation that's a little bit more blendable. It's a little bit more user-friendly, and it just gives a beautiful, beautiful finish to your face. I really encourage you to check all those out to see which one might be for you. I have a few more tips for you before we wrap up this video about foundations and powders for our mature skin. So did you see when I was applying that mineral powder foundation, I stayed in this area? Okay, did you see that? I really want you to avoid powdering in this area right here as much as possible. We already have, or at least I do, can't speak for you, we already have those wrinkles, those crow's feet, those fine lines coming up. So the more and more and more that we put on this, it's just going to settle into those fine lines and it's going to make them a little bit more pronounced. So even though I do get oily skin and I do need to touch up from time to time, I really stick with this area right here so it's not building up and settling in those fine lines around the outside of my eyes. The next thing that I wanted to say is, can I promise you an absolutely beautiful, flawless, crease-free makeup application? I cannot. I am so sorry. I wish that I could. But I just think that as I get older, at least I can speak for myself, and I get more wrinkles and I get more laugh lines and I get more creases and the crow's feet, I have a higher probability of getting a little bit of creasing. I am so sorry. If I find an absolutely perfect makeup application that doesn't do that, I will be sure to let you know. And it may have been possible in our 20s and our 30s and maybe in our 40s, but I'm finding that in my 50s, I am doing everything that I know to do, all the tips, all the tricks, and I'm still finding that I have just a little bit every now and again. So here's how I deal with a little bit of that creasing. The first thing that I do, toilet paper can be your best friend, is occasionally I will take one little sheet of toilet paper and just lay it down there and just blot it a little bit. That's all I do. Just kind of helps with that oil and that excess makeup and that oil, especially like I said, I'm oily and it's very humid here. So occasionally I just take a little toilet paper and I just lay it down there and just blot it. I also occasionally, with very clean, dry hands, will just kind of pat a little bit just to kind of even that out just a little bit. And I don't want to rub because I don't want to muddy that and wipe some of that away. I'm just blotting with clean, dry hands. That's all I'm doing, and just kind of piecing that back together just a little bit. Another quick tip is, if you're buying the powder foundation, try to avoid using these little puffs. While they may be helpful with application, what occasionally happens, for those of us who grew up, this is how we applied our foundation and our powder and all that in the 80s, we want to rub. And what that's going to do is it's just kind of muddy that a little bit. It's just kind of wipe some of that away. And so I get rid of these altogether. And if I have already blotted that a little bit and I need to touch up just a little bit, I'm going to take a brush. A brush can be your best friend. One of the things that they can do is, if you think that you've put on too much, you can just kind of sweep some of that away. They can also give you a great, beautiful application. And again, if you think you've put too much of that on your brush, or you can tap some of it off and you can get some of that off. But it's a great way to give you a beautiful, beautiful application, is get you some really good brushes. I hope you got some good tips and takeaways today for not only buying foundation and powder, but applying foundation and powder, especially as it pertains to our mature skin. I think just as we're getting older, our skin is changing, our needs are changing, so our approach to makeup needs to change as well, which is why I really wanted to do this series of just easy makeup tips for those of us with mature skin. So if you've got an idea, something that you'd like to see in a video, please leave me a comment and let me know. I would love to hear from you. One of the things that I want to work on is trying out more powders and foundations from the drugstore. So if you'd like to see that, leave me a comment and let me know. If you liked this video and you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and definitely subscribe and share it with your friends. For now, I hope that you'll find me on Instagram or Facebook at Just Doing My Best, and go out today and be blessed and do your best.